Hey guys, welcome to Nerdly. It's me, Jeff.
And Colin, Kirby the Younger.
And we're on episode 8. In case you're listening to this in chronological order, last week we had Tolkien Week.
Yes, we did. It was fantastic.
We loved it. Did you like it?
I did.
That's like right up your alley.
It was nice.
Week.
I did. I do want to say one thing though. There was I decided to share the podcast on the Tolkien Reddit and the Lord of the Rings Reddit. Probably a very bad idea.
Oh Lord.
Because everyone there is just as nerdy as me. And some people had pointed out some inconsistencies in the lore, and it really just came down to I was trying to oversimplify it for people, and instead of just being a nerd and rambling like I normally do.
So if you picked up on any of those things, it was not lack of knowledge.
No,
it was more just the vast majority of people don't know this stuff, and instead of diving into the weeds of everything, you just gave the 10,000-foot overview.
Exactly.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
I feel anyway.
In a lot of people's opinions, yes.
It makes it easier to digest. And when it comes to Tolkien, there's so much to digest.
Right.
And
so for that reason, we Tolkien Week will be treated with more care in the future.
More
by me.
More tender loving care.
Yes, it will be tended to as well as Sam tends to the gardens outside his home in Bagshot Row.
There you have it.
Anyway, so
Nerdly, in case you haven't figured it out by now, we are pure unadulterated geek culture. Two brothers hanging out, geeking out.
It's wonderful.
Doing our nerd thing.
It really is quite a fun time.
If you're watching this on YouTube, we are filming this, so you can check it out on our YouTube channel, Nerdly Podcast on YouTube, and you can see our Nerdly HQ, where all the magic happens. We've got some cool stuff on the walls, like here and here and here.
What about that over there?
Oh, there's these two up here.
Yeah.
And then there's that back there. I'm looking at the camera screen as I'm pointing, so I'm a little off on the pointing action. But yeah, you can watch us on YouTube. You can watch last week's Tolkien episode. You can watch today's episode or this week's episode whenever you're picking this up. And you can check it out. Once again, go to YouTube and type in Nerdly Podcast with no E. Should we do our social rundown?
Facebook.com/Nerdly
Podcast.
Twitter
@Nerdly Podcast.
Instagram
@Nerdly Podcast.
And what's our comments email? If you guys
comments @nerdly.net.
That's if you guys want to just let us know anything, if we're doing something you love, if we're not doing something you want, just let us know. We want to hear from you guys.
And the website is
nerdly.net.
All of them with no E.
That is our Nerdly HQ, one-stop shop for everything. And that is until our
official
app.
Nerdly app is done.
Woo!
It's almost there. We're so close to being there. Got a few more graphics things to work out.
You'll be able to access not only the podcast and listen to the podcast in the background, but you'll be able to surf our site, check out all the news you'd be able to find on our desktop site, Twitter feeds, Instagram, Facebook, everything. Sign up for the mailing list as well on there, I think.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah, you can shoot us an email through the app as well. So you can just do it all in one place. We're not so naive as to think that everybody's looking on a computer. In this
because
day and age
this isn't
Nerdly.
1943.
So we have an app coming out. You can do everything through the app. That way you're not having to flip-flop around between iOS podcast or Pocket Casts and then the website and then your Facebook and then your Twitter. You just get it all in one spot. So,
and this is really for you guys, and we're really excited.
Here's a reason, if you're listening to this audio, here's a reason why you need to check out the YouTube for this episode. Last Friday was Force Friday.
Wait, what's Force Friday?
Force Friday is the official release of all the new Star Wars Force Awakens merch.
No way. Wait. No.
Way.
No.
Way.
You're telling... What?
Way.
What?
Way.
Oh, my God.
And...
So what happened?
I got up at 4 a.m. and I went to our local Disney store.
Local as in Opry Mills, which is like 30 minutes away.
30 minutes away. The closest Disney store. And I stood in line. They let us in at 6 a.m. You can check out the video that I shot and recorded and put up on our YouTube channel.
That was right, because you're not allowed back there because you took your Kylo Ren saber you bought and you beat a child with it.
Well,
right?
yes, no.
To get to that
so
phone case.
if you're watching this on YouTube, you get to see something really cool. If you're not watching this yet, go watch it now. I have my Kylo Ren saber. This thing is sweet. You want to hear the sounds?
Now, I love it because it's nothing like kind of the elegant hum of the normal Jedi and Sith blades. This is like animalistic. Very, very untamed. I love it.
This thing is awesome. Super sweet.
And, you know,
it is kind of small, but again, it's a kid's toy.
Well, now that we have a physical representation, we're able to hold it in our hands. We can finally test out the age-old argument of, you know, whether you cut your hands off with the stupid crossguard or not.
Which I don't think it's entirely possible to cut your hands off
and
with
we
this.
did test it, remember?
We did.
And I took you down, and I could have killed you if this was real.
This is true. This is true. You could have.
But no, see, it does work. Stephen Colbert, if you're listening out there, which, by the way, I'm still going for that nerd off. I can beat you. Colbert, you were right. You were right.
Colbert was right.
And that's basically...
Colbert was right.
That basically can be applied to everything. Hashtag Colbert, you were right.
Hashtag Colbert was right. So I also picked up another couple of goodies. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube, hi, you can see my new first order iPhone 6 case. It's rather deep. It's a really thick case. So this is something that I was not anticipating or expecting. It is a very thick case, but it feels solid. And it helps out with one of the issues that I had with the iPhone 6, which was the thinness of the device. So it's pretty cool. It's a dual layer case. And then in this one, you'll have to go watch the Force Friday video that I did for. But the first 100 people who made a purchase got a limited edition Force Awakens pin that will never be sold or made again. It was strictly for Force Friday. And I got one because I was number 3 in line.
No way.
Whoop way. So Force Friday was awesome. I had a great time. Did you have a good time?
I did. You know, it was, honestly, I'm going to admit, I didn't go because I started a new job. I had to work later, and it just was not going to be able to happen for me. But I watched everything as it was going on. I was texting with Joff. You know, I watched all the streams. I watched IGN on YouTube, everything. It was just absolutely fantastic. I mean,
it was nuts.
I have not seen like a product line. I've not seen such a product line reveal that has been as crazy as this Force Friday was.
Oh, it was fantastic. I had a great time. I met some great people in line.
My 2 favorite things I'll say from Force Friday. Number 1, the iPhone Control BB-8.
I'm getting one. I'm getting one.
I think that just beats everything.
We're going to have one in the office. We will have one.
You better bring me beer. Number 2, the Star Wars Lego sets. Nothing beats the freaking Lego sets. Poe Dameron's X-Wing.
I want Kylo Ren's shuttle.
Yep. The First Order TIE Fighter.
Yeah, the new Special Forces TIE Fighter.
The new Millennium Falcon as well.
Yes, the new Falcon.
Oh, man.
What is that one, like 1,300 pieces or something? That one's ridiculous.
Child's play.
It's like $200 or $300 or something like that. It's huge from what I've heard.
Dude, you're talking to the kind of guy who would buy 2 Lord of the Rings Helm's Deep sets and put them together and build Helm's Deep from the actual book.
We've discussed this.
We can do this.
Despite the Force Awakens coming out, though, I still want the $300 Death Star. I'm thinking buy the Death Star, glue all the pieces on, and then shellac the whole thing, and then hang it from the ceiling here in Nerdly HQ.
And then never let your daughter near it.
Ever. Well, I mean, I pass it down to her when she takes over Nerdly after we're old and dead.
So is this going to be like a bloodline thing, or
I think so.
It's going to be like the Assassin Order? Do I need to go get a tattoo, or do I need to get my left ring finger cut off?
Yes, let's go do that. What should we do to signify our love for Nerdly? Hit us up at comments at nerdly.net.
Finger tattoos, burning, like scarification. Branding, thank you, branding. Cut off one of our fingers, or hidden blade. It's up to you guys, but we'll let that up to you.
I'm okay with hidden blade or finger tattoo? I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, I've already got one finger tattoo, so I could do another.
We can get another.
Well, that's what I mean. I could do another. I've already crossed that threshold.
So Force Friday was fun.
No, Force Friday was awesome. Your video was just hilarious. It was awesome. I loved it.
We were so delirious. 6 a.m. But everybody at the Disney store was awesome. Everybody in line was super cool. There was nothing crazy that happened. So it was great. It was a fantastic time. And it got me really excited for when episode 7 actually comes out and we do our big episode 7 Nerdly fun time.
Which will be happening. We have been discussing it. Our planning has begun for this.
Yeah, we got to plan. We got to plan out ahead.
Yeah. Oh no, our planning phase has begun.
We have serious aspirations for episode 7.
And you guys aren't allowed to know
until it is time.
And we will know when it is time. You will not.
We will know when it is time.
Now,
and when we will know, you will kind of know.
And now I believe this is the time where one of us goes, mwah ha 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 ha.
Mwah ha 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 ha.
Or the John Calvin laugh from our childhood. Inside joke, people.
Anyways, so this week, something that I was thinking about here recently. Is it cool if we talk about it?
Oh, no, I like it. Let's go for it.
So, superhero movies.
What's the deal?
There's an oversaturation of superhero films. Am I right?
Dude, there's like 25 coming out between now and 2019.
I mean, 4 years and there's 25 superhero movies. And that's not including the ones that we've had for the last 4 or 5 years.
Exactly.
When did they start?
Iron Man in 2008 was the first Marvel film?
Really kicked it off.
Well, yeah, but the first Marvel Cinematic
X-Men
Universe
kicked it off. No, for MCU it was Iron Man, but I don't even think Iron Man was technically MCU. I think it was like a test water.
Well, no, it was but it was like their test thing. But it was part of the MCU.
Well, no, I know it's part of the MCU. I'm just saying it was never really announced as MCU at the time.
Well, yeah, but anyway, so we really started with Iron Man back in 2008.
Yeah, and it's just gotten crazy.
It has, man. Now, real quick question
are you sick of it?
Well, question for you: did you go see Ant-Man or Avengers?
I have not seen Ant-Man. I saw Avengers.
Okay, well, that was my question for you. Ant-Man, it was interesting because it kind of was like a breath of fresh air. Because it didn't exactly feel like a superhero film. And yes, to an extent, I am kind of tired of the whole thing, but I just love Marvel so much that I'm sticking with them.
Oh, I do too. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to go see every single Marvel movie that comes out.
But Ant-Man really felt like something new because it felt kind of more like a heist film than a superhero movie. Like a heist film that really had more meaning to it than you'd think. And it blended nicely.
I don't know. It just seems like there's an oversaturation. And it was something that was inspired in my mind as I was reading an article. I cannot remember if it was from IO9 or The Verge last week, where they were talking about the oversaturation of Star Wars. How when we were kids, all you had was, or when our parents were kids or whatever, all you had was the originals hit the theaters, and then you didn't even have a home release for a long time. I mean, I honestly don't think a home release came out until the special editions in the early to mid 90s, and which I saw in the theaters. That was my first theater experience. And then so the home release and the special editions reignited the Star Wars fervor, and that's what brought about the prequels, which the prequels then spawned the Clone Wars, which that then spawned Rebels, and then the Clone Wars actual series,
and then there's like the video games.
The video games, everything since the end of the prequels. I mean, we're about 10 years out from the end of the prequels, 2005, which is weird. That makes me feel old. And now here we've got episode 7. Disney bought it out. Episode 7, 8, and 9, the anthology films. It's like, you've got Rebels, which is huge. You've got Battlefront coming out, all the new merch lines. And, he was making a case that,
there's just too much.
There might be too much Star Wars. But, I mean, it could also be just a guy, some crotchety old guy like, back in my day, we only had the 3 films in the theaters and that was it. You know what I mean? The whole get off my lawn thing.
Yeah, we all know those kind of people.
But it just got me thinking about the whole superhero thing. I love Marvel. You know, I love the Avengers. I love the Runaways. I love, you know, Doctor Strange and Thor. And I mean, I love all of it. You know, everything Marvel I love. I mean, we've got tons of Marvel stuff up. But I am kind of feeling the oversaturation of superheroes.
Well, and here's the thing.
And let me say this one thing. I only say Marvel because they're the most popular. We've not had an oversaturation of DC, but that's because DC films have typically sucked.
God, they have. It's, oh my God, Green Lantern.
I would be okay with more Dark Knight series films.
Yeah. But okay, so one thing that I saw that was interesting, it was actually from George R.R. Martin, who we all know and love. Finish The Winds of Winter, George.
Finish it.
But he said something interesting about like the Marvel films and about the oversaturation and how he loves them, he goes and sees them and everything, but he's kind of getting sick of it because they tend to all have kind of the same formula.
Yeah.
How like, especially with the villains, they're all like the anti-hero.
Yeah.
And not in like the anti-hero kind of way like Venom or something, but they're all like the antithesis of the hero exactly. Like the same powers, but using them for a different reason.
The yin to the yang.
Exactly. And they're so similar. It just gets boring.
Yeah.
I
would agree.
Like Spider-Man, you know, Oscorp created Spider-Man just as much as they did the Green Goblin or, you know, anybody else. You got Wolverine and Sabretooth.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. And, you know, that's fine, but there is a lot of that. Hulk and Abomination, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
They're the same freaking thing. And that got me thinking as well, a lot of them are just the same exact formula until we hit Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, I think.
See, I haven't seen Ant-Man, so I can't speak to that. But Guardians, I can. And one thing that I loved about Guardians is, okay, so when the Marvel thing first started, you know, becoming huge, I mean, you know, you've got Thor and, you know, you've got some of the fantastical elements of the universe, but there was nothing that really captured the craziness of the Marvel universe.
And then Guardians
came out. And then it was like, holy crap, there's this whole other thing going on. What?
Right. There's like an entire other side to the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just New York City with, you know, a bunch of dudes. You know,
right.
It's, well, in Black Widow, it's the universe.
Right.
It ties everything in, which is great because you cannot have an overarching Marvel universe of any kind without the Infinity Gems.
Right. I mean, because without Thanos, just in general, you know, his whole storyline, which got him hoping that Adam Warlock makes an appearance.
And you can't do Thanos without the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly. So Guardians definitely shook up the universe a lot. Ant-Man shook it up a lot. I'm really excited to see what comes out of Civil War.
Yeah.
I honestly, with Civil War, I hope they kill someone we love, and I know that sounds terrible, but I hope
Paula Martin.
I really hope that they kill off somebody that we all know and love. Someone like Iron Man. I feel like Cap needs to live because of Infinity War.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a Marvel Comics person, you know why. Don't worry, I'm there with you.
We'll just leave it at that.
Tony Stark is also important, very important, but I feel like someone we all know and love, maybe even someone who's been there since the very beginning, needs to die in Civil War, because in the comics, Captain America, quote, dies, and I'm doing air quotes because no one ever really dies in the Marvel universe.
Never.
Forever.
Hashtag Peter Parker.
Basically. That was just weird, man. But anyways, no, Cap dies, and that's kind of what jolts Tony into thinking, oh my God, this is my fault. You know,
Yeah.
This is my fault. This is stupid. This shouldn't be happening. And they reconcile, and they, you know, it all comes to a head. But I'm hoping that they keep that in the film, because in the past they've taken like Ultron, who was a creation of Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, and you know they co-opted him for obviously the Avengers in the films with Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, and they've changed it, except they kept kind of the essence of the story. So I'm really hoping, though, that they keep more of the story of Civil War and they bring that into the film more.
Well, I can't imagine why they wouldn't. I mean, you can't have a Civil War film. If they did a Civil War film that deviated almost completely from the Civil War storyline, they would burn just about every bridge that they had built.
Well, and I'm hoping, from what we've seen, like I keep wanting to say Clint Barton, but Jeremy Renner, who plays Clint Barton, tweeted a couple of pictures of some of the actual, I guess you could say, teams from Civil War, like who's on Cap's side, who's on Iron Man's side. And it was interesting to see like who was on each side. Now, we're not going to go ahead and spoil this, I don't think. Because if you want to find it, yeah, if you want to find it for yourself and ruin it, that's fine. That's cool. That's cool. But we're not going to do it for you. But then they also showed some characters who hadn't taken a side or who were just solo pictures. There was like T'Challa, who is a Black Widow, or not Black Widow, Black Panther. Thor won't be in the film, but they showed a couple more. But the most interesting was Black Panther because of Age of Ultron. Yeah. But I'm actually really, really freaking excited to see like who goes where and why. Oh yeah, that's going to be awesome. I really hope that they explore that, because that was a big part of the comic, and that's a big part of each and every character. Yeah. Is not only which side they chose, but why they chose that side.
Well, that's the whole point of the Civil War. Exactly. That's the whole underlying thing.
It's not like good superheroes versus bad superheroes.
Do you think we're going to see any of the new changes that they've made to the universe, like Lady Thor?
I don't think we're going to.
You think it's just MCU's complete?
No, female Thor is too new and different. And
yeah, I just didn't know. I just was sitting here
they're
going
to keep everything. I mean, obviously we'll have a cameo from the new Spider-Man. Tom Holland.
Yeah, he's already filmed already filmed it.
Obviously,
I think they're
working
on the new Spider-Man now.
Mm-hmm. He'll be in there. But as far as I know, I don't think we're going to see any other changes. Yeah. I mean, we won't see Doctor Strange with an axe.
So I mean, do you feel there's an oversaturation? Do you like the oversaturation?
I feel there definitely is an oversaturation and an oversimplification, because I see all these kids shows and everything that are all about the Avengers.
It. I mean, that's why Secret Wars is out.
Well, yeah.
Trying to simplify something that's not simplified.
I'm not a huge fan. I've never been a huge fan of simplifying things for the masses, which is funny because of what I did last week with Tolkien episode. So I'm sorry for being a hypocrite, but I'm not a fan of when people or companies simplify their lore and their history just because some people don't want to take the time to read. Yeah. Or some people don't want to take the time not even to read the comics, but just go on the wiki.
I know.
Go on the Marvel
Wikipedia.
Wiki.
I mean, it's not that hard.
Like, seriously, the only full comic series I've ever read have been Spider-Man, Thor, X-Men, and Avengers. That's it. Yeah. Everything else, literally, I just wikied or read like one-shots and different stuff and put together the story myself.
With the Marvel universe, though, you kind of have to do that, because there's 60 years or something, or 70 years worth of continuity
and there's different universes, different versions of characters,
parallel universes and dimensions and all this other stuff.
We got like Marvel 2099 with Spider-Man. We got Miles Morales, Peter Parker. There's just so much.
Then the
crap.
Peter Parker clones.
And then there's when Peter Parker and Doc Ock switch bodies for some weird reason.
Then there was the Man Spider.
That was just scary.
Man Spider. It's like Batman with the Man Bat.
Man Bat. Weird. Man Bear Pig.
Man, bear, pig. Half man, half bear, and half pig.
But
now I want to go watch Imagination Land.
I know. Greatest trilogy in history besides Lord of the Rings.
Oh, man. So, and as we were, so you and I were talking about this last night, and, that brought something else to our attention, which was the concept of new art forms, modern art forms. Okay,
and what's considered art.
What's considered art. Okay, so typically film has always been considered a form of art. You've got music, you've got the written word, you've got painting. Yeah. Okay, but why is something like a video game or a comic book not considered art?
Well, I think people would consider comic books. Well, I think most people nowadays would consider comic books art. And I think they're mainly thinking of DC or Marvel, but I think that they would be considered art. I mean, I think they're one of the only truly American forms of art that have come out in the last, probably 50 or so years. Yeah. Obviously, America
I would agree.
Spearhead a lot of art movements.
And see, I tend to consider them more art than anybody else than most people, because I don't read DC and Marvel so much anymore.
Right, you read.
They
more
were
the
my
indie
entryway.
stuff.
They were my entryway into comics, just like most people. But I read more.
You like the Dark Horse?
Well, no, not even Dark Horse really anymore. More, obviously, some of the Vertigo titles I've always loved. You know, Hellblazer and stuff. But like Image Comics, a lot of the Image Comics, mostly creator-owned stuff. You know, Brian K. Vaughan's one of my favorite writers. Why the Last Man, Ex Machina, and Saga. But I also loved his work on Runaways for Marvel, which was awesome. The Fables series, fantastic. Witches by Scott Snyder is another one that I'm really into right now. You know, and then graphic novel adaptations. You know, I love the Trick or Treat adaptation. I love the Godzilla graphic novel. You and I have read and reread the Noah, even the Noah graphic novel from the film last year.
That book still graces the shelves in my room, and I always will love it.
So, you know, I'm more of a fan of you know, Odyssey by Matt Fraction. I'm more a fan of those, which I would consider art. I mean, God, you flip through some of those pages, some of the variant covers and stuff are true art.
Well, yeah, the art, like the actual art styles in them, but also the writing.
Yeah, the writing is just as...
It's wonderful. It's expansive, just like a novel would be.
Yeah.
And it's great. And then we go on to like video games, and you know, most people play games like Madden or play Call of Duty or something, or you know, they'll play Zelda or Mario. Some people are still stuck in the freaking 90s, and
hey, I like Zelda and Mario.
I know, but I'm talking about the elitists who like keep their Super Nintendo or like anything past 1998 is just crap, you know?
Yeah.
But video games, I would consider one of the truest art forms. And again, I would consider them one of the only true American-born new...
Video games were not American-born.
Well, okay. In their current state.
Well, Call of Duty had a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Well, I would consider like video games, you know, to be just as much of an art form as paintings or as comic books, movies, because they seem to take the best of all three of those, of films, of books, of comics, and they mix them all together and they make them interactive. You know, something that somebody mentioned to me was, it was actually an article I read, now that I think about it. And for thousands of years, you know, people would gather around a fire, or they would, you know, they'd get together in their home or in their tents, and they would hear stories of their people, of their history. You know, you have like the Jews, they were in the desert, they would hear stories of their people, you know, that's how the Torah was passed down. Or the Egyptians, they recorded their stuff on their tombs and on slabs. And, you know, you have mythologies that come out of that. You have epic poems. And now in our modern age, you have video games where you not only tell those stories, where you not only listen,
you can interact with those
stories. But you are part of those stories. You are the hero. And that's
why
I love things like RPGs.
I look at something like The Last of Us.
Yeah, The Last of Us, or, you know, more recently, even The Witcher.
Yeah, I was about to say The Witcher.
A game with such beautiful characterization as The Last of Us or The Witcher.
Some of the Elder Scrolls games.
The Elder Scrolls.
Fallout or Far Cry.
BioShock Infinite.
BioShock.
One of the greatest pieces of video game storytelling I've ever experienced was in BioShock Infinite. And, you know, people look at like Call of Duty, they look at Madden or something, and they're like, oh yeah, those are fun to play with your bros. You know, you're drinking and partying and stuff, or Halo, have a LAN party. But not a lot of people truly appreciate not only the work, but the value of some of these, you know, video games.
Outside of music, there's really only one thing that has caused such a huge emotional reaction in me, and that was the ending to Final Fantasy X. I still cry when I play that game all the way through and I hit the end, and you know, Tidus leaps off the edge of the airship, and it's like I still get choked up. Can I get a little choked up thinking about it? You know, I mean, I turn on the ending battle music in my car from the soundtrack, and it still gets me. You know?
And that's the purpose, is to not only entertain but to evoke emotion.
You look at games like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus and the upcoming Last Guardian.
Yeah, there's a reason a game like Shadow of the Colossus has stuck with us for so long.
Journey,
yeah. It's a newer one, and it's already in like the annals of video game history.
You know, so I mean, we need to figure out how to petition the mass majority the masses, the mainstream masses, to reclassify something like video games as artwork, as a true form of art, just as much as a novel or just as much as a musical piece.
Well, and one thing that I think is going to help are all these new video game films that are coming. Look, traditionally, video game movies suck, like
Mortal
immensely.
Kombat, anybody?
Freaking Need for Speed, anybody?
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, come on. They suck. Now, but here's the thing. With Sony, obviously, they are not just a video game company. They're not just a publisher or anything. They are a worldwide multimedia corporation.
Yeah.
They have their hands in movies and video games, in all forms of entertainment around the world. And they are commissioning, they're helping out with the Assassin's Creed film and the Last of Us film.
Oh, I did not hear they were doing a Last of Us film.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are working on it right now.
Aren't they doing a Uncharted film as well?
They are doing. They are going to be doing Uncharted. They're still like, how Assassin's Creed movie was kind of in like development limbo for a while.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed is in the same, or Uncharted's in the same spot.
Okay. I thought I had heard something about that. I just couldn't remember.
Well, it's because they can't find anybody good to write the freaking script, and then who are you going to find to cast as Drake other than like Nathan Fillion? Nathan Fillion is
that
just
a bad
perfect.
thing?
Well, that's what I mean. Like Nathan Fillion's perfect.
Why can't we get Nathan Fillion?
No, but if they like hold off for so long, it's like there's going to be a point where Fillion can't do it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And you don't want to just have one guy that you've got and then throw all your chips into one person. If you can't get them, you're screwed.
Yeah,
exactly. But anyway, so I think these video game films are really going to help out on that end, are really going to show people, all right, this is a film, and Last of Us is going to, I think it's going to explode as a film. And then it's going to make people go, well, what did this come from originally? This wasn't a book. No, it was a video game.
Yeah.
Your son's PS4? Yeah, you can play that. You can experience it.
Yeah.
In the way that it was originally conceived. And I don't see why that wouldn't be I don't know. I just don't see why it wouldn't click in people's minds.
Well, I hope it does, because when I sit down to play, I mean, on my Vita, I play some games, and you've got Minecraft.
I play some games, all right.
You've got Minecraft, but I also am a big fan of like the really weird Japanese games, like
Conception.
Okay, I played that on my 3DS, all right, and I did take it back, like within a week.
It was weird.
It was a little out there.
I see. Okay,
but I love like the one of my favorite games to play on my Vita is Hatsune Miku Project Diva F2nd, which was actually one of the best rhythm games I've ever played in my life. It brought back the same kind of joy in me that I felt when I played DDR the first time, which was, I mean, that's like up there with playing Ocarina of Time and Final Fantasy X for me. I mean, but then you have a game like Virtue's Last Resort or Reward. You have Persona 4 Golden.
You have Child of Light.
Yeah, you have Child of Light. You have, there's all these games, but I always get like some weird looks when I pull I sit up at Starbucks and I'll pull my Vita out, and like people kind of look at me like, is he a little old for that? You know what I mean?
Video games are not just for kids.
It's anymore. Like, I don't think you understand. I'm sitting here playing Killzone Mercenary.
Yeah, honestly, here's the thing, guys. Video games aren't even geared towards children anymore. Video games are geared towards adults. Seriously, before Destiny, I hadn't played a rated T game in years.
It's just they're going for more realism. They're going for, and they're trying to go after the young adult market.
And now that actually leads me into Destiny, which has been one of the most polarizing video games in the last couple of years.
Very much so.
It's either you love it and you will support it and Bungie until the day you die, which is the side I'm on, or
obviously
you played it for like the first 6 months, didn't really like it, and that's fine, but then you go on the forums and you just troll all day long talking about how Bungie is basically the Nazi party of the video game industry. And Destiny was an interesting beast because it brought a lot of MMO elements to console that hadn't really been experienced before. The grind, the questing and gear grinds, the raids.
Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of MMOs on console. You can't really do MMOs on consoles.
Well, until Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
And then Destiny, and now Elder Scrolls Online, which, again, I think Elder Scrolls did a perfect transition from PC to console. I love it. But anyways, with Destiny, that game is built on storytelling, and most people look at that and go, well, where the heck's the story? It was very fragmented in vanilla release and the first base release before the first expansion. And even in the first expansion, it was very fragmented. You had to run back and forth between all these people and get these quests that talk about all this lore and mention all these people and items that you don't really know about. And the lore is hidden in their grimoire cards, which are these digital cards you unlock in the game by doing certain things, and they add to your score. It's just a little... basically like bragging rights. If you have a high grimoire score, you can tell you've been playing for a while. And they're these little cards,
in Call of Duty,
that you can read, in the app or on the website, and they unlock all this hidden lore and all the stories and info about the world, and it's amazing. But with Taken King, they're really adding in like a true questing system, like an MMO has, and then a true new storytelling.
It's like an actual system, honest to God, like. Almost like a campaign mode.
Yes, and now what I'm getting at is it's one of the most original. It is one of the few truly original science fiction and fantasy stories in the video game industry.
It truly is a melding of science fiction and fantasy.
It is. I mean, for goodness sake, it's the only game I've ever played where I can go grab a pulse rifle or a fusion rifle that shoots lasers, and fly to Venus in a spaceship, and out of nowhere, I can just pull out a rocket launcher called the Gjallarhorn, which is named after the horn that signals the beginning of Ragnarok from Norse mythology. And the rocket launcher itself is it's Nordic. It's covered in like a wolf head. It's beautiful. Awesome. It looks like something out of a fantasy realm. And they melded it perfectly. The lore, the armor, everything. It's a wonderful mixture, and it's the only one that's been truly successful, I think. And we see new fantasy or science fiction all the time in books. I mean, God, you gobble up about every new science fiction novel out there.
I try.
Yeah.
I do what I can.
You tell me all the time about these new novels. I'm like, holy crap, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Video games, there's not much. I mean, there's some new stories here and there, but usually they're indie stuff. This is huge.
Yeah.
And I think this really, changes the game for a lot of people. It did for me.
I mean, it changed it so much that your girlfriend calls Destiny the other woman.
I went on the Destiny Reddit, actually, and I found out I'm not the only one. There's an entire, thread about that on the Reddit. I'm not the only one out there.
I'm lucky in that when I do finally end up picking my current-gen console later on this year, I'm lucky in that my wife will be okay with playing with me.
Well,
maybe not on Destiny, because we'll have to get two consoles. You can't do split, but
you can play Halo or something.
Yeah, which I'm still trying to figure out. Okay, I want a PlayStation because I'm a Sony guy. I've obviously got my Vita.
Well,
you and I could play Battlefront together.
Yes, we could. And
Destiny.
But
as a family man, okay,
PlayStation.
An Xbox makes more sense in terms of media center.
PlayStation.
Plus, you have the voice controls and. I know where you sit on
PlayStation.
This. No, look, okay.
For the purpose of our discussion today, I say we stay out of that realm as much as we can. However,
we are going to go there, though.
Yes, we will. With our newcomer Lane Eady, he will be featured in that one.
Yes.
However,
we're gonna have a geek off.
Just for the sake of our little discussion, though, the PlayStation fits better for what we're talking about today, which is the video games as an art form.
As an art form, because again, you have a console exclusive like an Uncharted, like a Last of Us,
God of War.
Yeah, God of War. Which I've always loved the storyline of God of War.
God of War is the one game I
still want a movie.
It's a stupid freaking button masher that you actually have to think about and then actually has a great story.
It's a mindless button masher that you have to use your mind to play.
It's awesome, and I love it. It's so cool. Or you have like the Order 1886 even,
yeah, the Order,
which tanked in sales.
What was it, Bloodborne?
Bloodborne, God bless
the storyline of Bloodborne was nuts.
Oh, man. Oh, dude, when you get to the end, it's
I've read it.
Yeah, you might as well just like develop a drinking problem because you have to get through it.
Yeah.
But anyways, for the purpose of our discussion, that's the big thing about Sony. And when
you have the history of Final Fantasy.
Right. And when I worked at GameStop, I would tell people that all the time. They would ask, which console was better. And I'm like, well, despite what I may think, it's not that simple. It's not.
It's all subjective.
Right. And it comes down really to the kind of games that you like. Do you like playing with your friends? Do you like really, a lot of fun multiplayer games? Do you like shoot 'em up games? Xbox is great for that. Halo, Call of Duty, all of that.
You got Forza,
great racing game. The sports games all focus on Xbox more than PlayStation. However, PlayStation focuses mainly on storytelling, telling stories that are going to leave you, with your jaw dropped.
And that's purely a Japanese thing. That's why Nintendo has survived as long as they have.
Which
you've got a game like Pikmin. Pikmin has like this rabid cult following. It's a stupid game, but it's amazing because you have this emotional connection. Pokemon. Why do you think Pokemon has been around for as long as it has? And there are adults that still play it.
There are adults that would come in and buy all the new Pokemon booster packs.
It's literally the only reason I would own a 3DS. Still, if I had the money, I would go buy another 3DS purely for Zelda and Pokemon.
Yeah, and
although the new Xenoblade is out on the 3DS, and I hear that one's pretty awesome.
It's a terrible port, though.
Oh, is it really?
No, dude. Yeah.
But aren't they putting it? Oh, and then you've got Bravely Default and Bravely Second.
Yeah.
I mean, Bravely Default was like a return to Square Enix's roots.
Well, and then,
that game was seriously like 200 hours.
And then just look at Zelda. Okay, that's one of the biggest, and it was really what began It wasn't exactly an RPG, but it's really what began kind of the big fantastical.
Well, Zelda,
RPG universe.
Back in the 80s, you had the only RPGs you had were Dungeons and Dragons,
or the games, where
Shadowrun, or
where you would they were the text based, where you'd explain everything to you, and you'd say like, I want to do this.
Oregon Trail was an RPG,
greatest RPG of all
time.
Died
of dysentery, and so Zelda was really the first honest to God video game RPG, and it was the precursor to Final Fantasy. And
when I'm talking about Zelda, I'm mainly talking about the 90s, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
But then you look at Wind Waker. Came out on the GameCube. It had cartoony graphics, which for the time that cell shading was gorgeous. It still looks gorgeous.
Oh, it is.
But it had cartoony graphics, non-high definition, and it didn't matter. It still to this day doesn't matter. I talk to people today who consistently go back and replay that game, not because, it looks phenomenal, it stood the test of time, because of the story, because they emotionally connected to something that wasn't even realistic.
Exactly.
It's the storytelling. It's why Pixar has a rabid following amongst adults as much as it does children.
Well, all of us who grew up watching Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., later on Finding Nemo even, and we watched those as a kid and we loved them so much, and then they make a new one. They do like Toy Story 3. They're doing Finding Dory next year.
Yeah, Toy Story 4.
And you know what? And Toy Story 4 and up, and they consistently pull on those emotions from us.
And that is what,
and it's amazing.
That is more what Sony and Nintendo do.
Exactly. And like you said, that is a Japanese thing.
Yeah, it's purely a Japanese thing, I think. It can be done in America, but America there's so many cultural differences.
Big guns, explosions, muscles.
I mean, there's a lot of. It's the reason why Michael Bay is as popular as he is.
And Gears of War. Gears of War is not a Japanese video game, as
Gears
you can
of War
tell.
is literally Michael Bay, the video game.
Essentially.
I mean, if Michael Bay did adult things and not like family centric.
If Michael Bay did,
if Michael Bay did movies with F words,
basically,
and blood. If Michael Bay and Quentin Tarantino had a kid, it would be Gears of War.
No, Quentin Tarantino wouldn't allow that.
He wouldn't allow that union. He'd stay pure.
Tarantino would he'd kind of look at him and go, no, not going to happen, and just kind of walk away.
Oh, the rabbit trails. I love it. Okay, so video games are art, comic books are art, and Marvel after 2019
is going to be weird.
Please give us a break.
Dude, it's going to be
just
weird
a break.
It's going to be strange when it actually hits 2019 and we're like, oh my God,
give
there's
us
so
a break
much.
Before you decide to start rebooting everything.
And please give us a break, and in that break, just make have an influx of science fiction and fantasy films.
Seriously, bring out some more originality. I mean, one of the greatest sci-fi films I've seen over the last however many years is Ex Machina.
Yeah. And
I wrote the review on it on Nerdly. You can check it out. I mean, there's a reason why it's got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes.
And one thing I haven't even mentioned, I'm like, oh my God, the last thing that I'll really touch on here that we're forgetting, Warcraft. The World of Warcraft, just the MMO, but then there's the Warcraft games beforehand, the books, the everything.
The entire Warcraft universe.
That's what, a 20-year saga?
It's ridiculous.
Been happening,
and it's still just as popular. I know Blizzard is losing subscribers, but I think they're shooting themselves in the foot because they released Hearthstone and Heroes of the Storm, and I think they're losing.
Well, and I think
WoW
Legion
subscribers.
I think Legion, bringing back the Burning Legion from the beginning of World of Warcraft, can really help with that.
Oh, I think.
And now we're getting the Warcraft movie, which the footage that was bootlegged and the trailer that was bootlegged looks phenomenal, look amazing. Oh my God!
It's gonna be awesome.
We have Warcraft, which is just as much, I believe, an art form as anybody else. It's an ongoing fantasy universe.
Just because a lot of it has taken place in a video game does not make it any less, in my eyes, compelling or valid as Lord of the Rings.
I would agree.
I mean, it's just because it takes place in a video game and there's 20 million people worldwide that play this game does not mean that it's any less valid
or any less influential
as a Tolkien or a George R.R. Martin or a William Gibson or a J.K. Rowling or whatever.
World of Warcraft inspired a South Park episode just like Lord of the Rings did.
Exactly. Make love, not Warcraft.
The greatest.
Probably the greatest South Park episode of all time.
Yeah, it really was.
Well, seconded, in my opinion, seconded only by the human centipede.
Oh, geez. that did capture the culture.
Then there was the one with Mint Berry Crunch.
Oh, the one Coon and Friends.
Yeah, well, it was the particular Coon and Friends episode where Mint Berry Crunch finds out that he's the chosen one.
Yes.
Yeah, and what was it? The question, or no?
Oh man, I can't remember his name.
What was his name?
Kenny.
Yeah, it was Kenny. What was Kenny's? Anyway, Kenny's superhero was like, "What? It's not me. How is this possible?"
Yes. I love it.
Oh my god,
so perfect.
And on that note, I think we're done for today.
I think we are.
I think we're good.
What do you guys think? I mean, should video games be considered an art form alongside comic books? I'm sorry, alongside the novels, the Star Wars movies, everything. It's all art. I mean, what do you guys think? We want a big discussion.
You hit us up. Comments at nerdly.net. You can hit us on Twitter at nerdlypodcast, facebook.com/nerdlypodcast, Instagram,
Nerdly Podcast,
direct message on Instagram.
And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube too, comment on YouTube.
Hit us in the comments below.
I mean, subscribe, hit us up in the comments. I mean,
you can also comment on the post on the website.
Yes, you can. You already said comments at nerdly.net.
Yeah, there are tons of ways you can get in touch with us.
Yeah. And we have
Let us know your thoughts.
I have my personal Instagram.
Let us know your thoughts. Let us know how you feel about the possible oversaturation of superheroes, what that could mean for the masses in terms of and the genre and our geek community, and then your thoughts on different forms of art, video games and comics as true art instead of being looked at as, oh, that's just kid stuff.
We want to know. We're here for you.
I'm sick of being looked at as a man-child who can't grow up because I like playing female Vocaloid rhythm games on my PS Vita. I'll never grow up.
I'm okay with being considered like Peter Pan.
I could be Peter Pan.
I could rock the tights.
I could be the Pan.
And on that note, thank you guys so much.
Peace
Seriously,
out.
we love you. Peace.